Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. What we're going to do in this video is break down the best and the worst heroes for Overwatch 2 Season 8 mid-season balance patch, because there have been some changes, and I've got to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, there have been some insane changes. So look at this. We've got, these are patch notes. I'm not going to go over them here, but I'm just going to quickly, scroll through. So MAUGA gets a big nerf. Hopefully this takes him out of the meta, but we'll get on to that in a moment. Orisa gets buffed for some reason. Why would you buff Orisa? Anyway, Orisa gets buffed, and it's a really ridiculous buff as well, because it's the removal of fall-off damage from a primary fire. Roadhog gets a healing nerf. Sojin gets a railgun buff because Blizzard, I don't know. Sombra gets a little bit of a buff to stealth, but she's still pretty good anyway. Ana gets a nerf to anti-nade, and obviously the plus healing effect on the nade as well. But will it be enough to make her not essentially S tier? No. Illari gets a buff, which only really matters if you are literally amazing with aim, because if you're going to miss your shots, it's not really going to make any difference. And then Lifeweaver gets a buff as well. But yeah, I think the first place to start is obviously with MAUGA. We'll get MAUGA in and we'll stick him in, because I've played a few games with this MAUGA, and I'll be honest, I think he doesn't feel as great to play, which is kind of the point. Like, I mean, I think I had like an 87% win rate on MAUGA over nearly 40 games. That is actually insane, and I want him nerfed. I don't think anyone wants to play with MAUGA versus MAUGA because it's so sort of one-dimensional. Yeah, there's an argument for some supports might enjoy playing with MAUGA because, you can obviously reliably, easily heal him, and obviously if the other supports are not healing their MAUGA and it's a MAUGA versus MAUGA, then your MAUGA's going to win, and if you're playing Ana and you throw the anti-nade on the enemy MAUGA at the right time, then you're going to win and all that stuff. Anyway, let's start off with MAUGA. I'm going to put him as okay. Now, I would like to put him in trash tier unplayable, but I still think he's got some uses. Like, he's really strong against Winston. He literally deletes Winston from the game. And he can be pretty good against, obviously, a Reinhardt as well. I think he's going to suffer against Ramatra. I think he's going to be really strong against him. Sigma is pretty good against denying his damage, and now he does basically less damage because he needs to reload more often. And I think, Roadhog is okay against him as well. Orisa is going to be really strong against him now, because she's literally had a giga buff against MAUGA, because he can no longer crit her when he sets her on fire when she's using Fortify. And also she can just do damage to him from range, because she's got like no fall-off damage on a primary fire, which is insane. But I'm going to leave him at C tier. I would like to get rid of him. I think for the health of the game, he needs to not be... He can't be meta, this hero. He's like the Brig version of a tank. I'm going to get slaughtered in the comments for that. All right. I think the next place to start is go straight in with the S tier. Who are the best heroes in the game right now? So I think we're just going to go in with the best hero. It's Kiriko. Yeah, she is... I mean, have you guys seen the clips of Kiriko literally dueling the back line of the enemy team and then just teleporting out? She's not even being played as a support. She's just doing massive amounts of damage. She's got teleport, which is the ultimate get out of jail card. She can also Suzu herself as well if she needs the heal and remove any negative effects. Her damage is insane, which we're starting to see now. Players are getting really good with the kunai, and they are quite forgiving with the hitbox on them as well. So this hero is insane. And the reason why she's insane: extreme mobility, great healing output, amazing, and I mean absolutely amazing ability in Suzu to remove negative effects and just remove the player sort of out of existence for that moment in time so they don't even take damage. Insanity, just incredible. Her ultimate wins fights. She's the only counter to Ana, so if you get it with an anti-nade, you need Kiri. She was super strong with MAUGA meta because obviously it all depended on if the enemy, if you got hit with anti-nade, your Kiriko needed to teleport in and drop Suzu on you or throw the Suzu on you so you could win that fight, as you would lose the fight and you would lose the team fight. Just incredible. Literally just incredible. Like, I don't know what they're going to do with Kiriko. I've got the feeling that Kiriko is sort of the face of Overwatch 2, so they probably want to keep her strong. And I bet you she sells a lot of skins as well, sort of like Mercy in that regard. So I don't know, but whatever. Kiriko, literally the best hero in the game. That's it. End of story. Okay, so following up, we're going to go with another amazing support hero. This is Ana. Now, Ana has been nerfed. Yes. Anti-nade is not as effective, and obviously the plus healing effect from it is not as effective. Just again to show you the patch notes, it's literally 0.5 seconds. The question will be, will it be enough? Will this make much of a difference? Yeah, it's going to reduce her power level, but again, the thing with Ana is she's got really good healing output, good damage output, not as good as Kiriko, but good damage output. You could say Kiriko's got maybe better effective damage. I don't know, but it's still really good. You've got Nade, which is still really good. Sleep, which is really good. Nano, which is good as well. She's just really, really good. And again, she can only really be countered by a Kiriko. And if there isn't a Kiriko on the enemy team, you're going to get a ton of value. All right, let's move on to the next hero. And I think this was kind of... We're just going to go for Sojourn to begin with. This is insane. This is actually insane. So Sojourn was the best DPS in the game during the MAUGA meta, and arguably before that. So what you've got is high mobility, but you've got Railgun. Now, it's very easy to charge Railgun up off a MAUGA. Really easy to hit. Just pump your damage into him. Then try and Railgun one of the squishy targets in the backline. But what Blizzard have decided to do is they've looked at the DPS and gone, hey, the best DPS is Sojourn. So what we're going to do is buff Sojourn. Now, there's a bit of confusion I've seen online about this. So what this is she will not go under 25% rail charge if she's charged above 25% rail charge, if that makes any sense. So when she basically doesn't spawn with 25%, she spawns with 0. But if you start doing damage with primary fire and maybe you get 60 charge and then let it decay, it will only decay down to 25. Of course, if you fire the railgun, it will go back down to 0. So it's marginal, let's say, but it's a buff. And why buff literally the best DPS hero? It makes no sense. If you are a Sojourn player, play Sojourn. She's incredibly strong right now, and of course pairs really, really well with a Mercy and all of that stuff. She's just really, really good. You can flank with her. You can just destroy the back line with her. She's a very safe hero to play. Play Sojourn. Blizzard have buffed her, and they've literally lost their mind. Okay, so I think in terms of, if we look at the other DPS option, I think this is where things are going to get a bit controversial, to be fair, because I really want to put Mei in this tier. I think Mei is very strong in the game, but I think only when paired with something like a Sojourn. Because if you've got Mei and then you've maybe got like, I don't know, kind of a Junkrat with a Mei, for example, it's not going to be as great. You know, you need that sustained damage output from the Sojourn or that sustained threat. And then Mei obviously works with the tanks. I think Mei was good against MAUGA as well, but I think she's just good anyway. And I've got a feeling that we're going to see Ramatra and Sigma being played as the two tanks. And Mei is really good against those. So I think I've literally got to put Mei in S tier because I think she's ultra survivable. She's like a mini tank. She's got good damage output. She's super disruptive. Her ultimate, again, is an ult that can just win fights unless Kiriko, Suzu's, whoever's in it. But yeah, really strong. Honestly, super strong right now. And I think, honestly, to follow this up, we're just going to go for Ramatra. I'm tempted to put Sigma in the top tier. But I might put Sigma in A tier because I think Ramatra is better than Sigma. Now, a lot of this relies on players just getting used to using Ramatra. And I think Ramatra has actually been strong all throughout the MAUGA meta. But MAUGA has just been so insanely strong that Ramatra has found it quite difficult to get value. But still, he's quite effective against MAUGA if you play around your barrier and your tank form. Although you're not really doing anything. You're kind of just like blocking his damage. And he's got the initiative in a lot of the fights. But in your non-tank form as Ramatra, your projectiles are bigger on your primary fire, so it's more easy to do, is that even more reliable, let's say, to do damage. So you can actually spend more time in your sort of mini form doing damage and then drop your shield when you need to, or deploy your barrier when you need to, and then go into your big tank form if you're going to take a lot of damage, or you need to do damage through shields. I think he's going to be the best tank, and he's the tank that I want to put time into now, going forward into Season 9, because I don't think MAUGA is relevant anymore. MAUGA was just a joke of a hero being super OP. I think Sigma is still going to be strong. If you're a good Sigma player, you know, you're a poke tank, right? And that's what Ramatra is, right? He's also in the same category, really. I think Reinhardt's still going to suffer. I think Junker Queen's okay as well, but we'll get onto them in a second as we go through this list. But yeah, that's a pretty solid group of heroes so far. And I think that's a team. When I look at it, if I loaded in and I had that as my team, I'm taking it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be too worried about that. I am tempted to put Sigma up there as well, though. You know, like I do think Sigma, you know, just because I'm a Sigma fanboy, I'm just going to put Sigma up there. But I think Sigma is below Ramatra and is basically an A tier. But because I'm a fanboy, I'm going to put him in S tier, basically for the same reasons. You know, good poke tank, good survivability, good damage output, just a good hero, great ultimate as well. Probably the only weakness with Ramatra, you could probably argue that Sigma's ultimate is a lot better than Ramatra's for getting that value, but Ramatra's does work in a lot of scenarios. So, yeah, I think overall, pretty decent. Okay, we're going to go into the A tier now, and I think I've got the feeling this is going to be quite a popular tier because there's a lot of heroes that I think are quite good, and are definitely better than like me just saying they're decent. Right, let's break this down. So, do we start with supports or do we go in with? Well, I guess we could go with Ashe. I think Ashe. No, actually, maybe I want to put Ashe a bit lower. I don't know about Ashe. Okay, let's just go for this. So, really strong heroes right now. I'm going to say, I think. Let's just go for it, right? So, BAP, I'm going to put BAP in really strong, really good support, really good damage output. He is probably competing with Kiriko in terms of overall damage output with supports. He's just good. Like, Lamp's always a good ability. Probably too strong, but it's still a good ability. His ultimate's okay. It's generally better if you just use it for yourself and be, selfish with it. But I think he's fine. Like, he's okay. And he's probably going to benefit. I mean, he was kind of okay with MAUGA as well because it was easy to apply the heals to MAUGA than, let's say, a more mobile tank would be. But, yeah, I think he works okay with Ram and Sigma if you're going to pop those as your tanks. Yeah. Now, I think, talking of tanks, we're going to go for Orisa because this is an anomaly. I don't know why Blizzard have done this, right? I don't know why Blizzard have gone, let's remove fall-off damage penalty from augmented fusion driver. And while we're at it, let's make her immune to taking force critical hits, which basically means so she can't take the damage from a... like, if she's set on fire from MAUGA, then when MAUGA attacks her with his alternate fire, he won't do crit damage to her if she's using Fortify. So, yeah, a buff against MAUGA, so she's going to be even better against him, and just a buff against everyone else. But this is going to... I mean, do you guys remember when we were in a very, very strong Orisa meta, and it was basically because the damage you could do at that sort of mid-range was really good for a tank, and I feel like we're just going back into that now. So, instead of actually shooting the enemy tank, which you should never really be doing as Orisa unless the tank was about to die, or you wanted to javelin them to interrupt an ability... You just focused on their back line. You focused on the DPS. You're just going to do that even more. So I think we're just going to see a world of Orisa just running in and just being extremely hard to kill because she's Orisa, and then just doing tons of damage. She could be S tier. I don't want to put her S tier because I don't want to believe that she's going to be S tier, but she could be, and I'm a bit worried, to be honest. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a bit worried. Okay, next up, I want to keep this tanky. Give me my Junker Queen. Yeah, I think Junker Queen is really strong. She is the template for a brawler tank. If Blizzard want to add brawler tanks into the game, base them on this. Don't base them on MAUGA because he's not great. So the reason I like her is she's actually quite hard to hit for a tank. She's got a pretty slim silhouette when it comes to the size of a hitbox. Her damage output is pretty good, and she's a bit of a nuisance to deal with against certain tanks. Like, I think she can be okay against Ramarcher as well. Probably less so against Sigma, but I think she's just okay. But again, the problem is probably going to be with tanks. You're going to see a lot more Orisa. So I'm not too sure if Junker Queen into Orisa is going to be that great. She is okay against Orisa, don't get me wrong. Because again, it's a bit difficult for Orisa to land the damage on the Junker Queen. The Junker Queen can get in there and do quite easy damage to Orisa. So she can be pretty strong against her. But I think she's one of those heroes where you need to be able to play the hero. You can't just go, I'm going to pick Junker Queen, but I'm a Reinhardt player. Because you're not going to be able to play the hero. It's sort of a less extreme example of trying to play Wrecking Ball, Wrecking Ball's going down here. Spoiler. Anyway, let's just get Wrecking Ball. We're slamming on Wrecking Ball. Get him. He's not... Right, okay. So I think he's trash because I can't play him. But if you can play him, then he's playable. Now, this is a hero that's being reworked, and we expect this to come in Season 9. So he could go up the tiers, but at the moment, I'm just going to stick him there. If you can play him, then play him. He can still be quite frustrating to play against. Now, Ashe. Ashe, in terms of like... Right, I think we can go through quite a few DPS here quite quickly. And I think I'm just going to start loading them in here because I think... In fact, Cassidy, I think, is even lower. I don't think you ever want to really be playing Cassidy over... Okay, so what I'm thinking here is Sojourn is always the hit scan DPS you want to play. I know she's projectile primary, but she's hit scan secondary fire. Ashe, yeah, she's okay damage output. Her ultimate's okay. You know, she's okay. Soldier is okay, is okay, is okay. This is the problem with Soldier always has. He's sort of like the median, the sort of middle of the DPS landscape, especially when it comes to hit scan heroes. And Sojourn has always been better than him because she's got better mobility where it counts, and she's got better damage output where it counts, and Soldier doesn't have that. He's all about sustained damage output, and that doesn't really work in Overwatch because you want to try and kill people quick, not just have sustained output. He can still be okay, but this is why Ashe is a better pick than him, because Ashe has got better sort of kill potential. You know, she does better effective damage. She can secure the kills better, and she's got better range. So Soldier is decent. Or maybe even I'll drop him down to okay. You know what? I'm going to drop him down to okay. I think he's just okay. I'm also going to put Cassidy down there. And Cassidy is in a terrible state. But again, this is a hero. We know he's going to be looked at by Blizzard going forward into Season 9. We don't know what this rework's going to look like. Maybe they're going to give him more utility or whatever. We kind of know they're going to look at his flashbang, which isn't his flashbang anymore. It's his stupid grenade. But they're going to try and do something with that. I don't know. He's just not as effective as the other hit scans. So, I mean, he was kind of okay against MAUGA, and he's kind of okay against tanks that he can land the shots on reliably. But I just think there's just way better options out there. If you can play Cassidy, you can play Sojourn. So you should be playing Sojourn. That's the moral of the story when it comes down to all these DPS heroes, because you just get so much more value out of the Sojourn. It's actually insane. Okay, let's move on. A Bastion. What am I going to do with Bastion? I think I kind of want to say he's decent, Bastion. He still is decent. He's frustrated. Like Bastion. Okay, Bastion is one of these heroes. Reaper is the other one, where they can just wildly fluctuate based on the rank in the game. I think, and I'm gonna put my faith in everybody who plays Overwatch. But basically, I think people now know how to play around this guy. When he's in tank mode, just run away. I know he can just go into tank mode and he can kind of catch you out and whatever, or his sentry mode, whatever it's called. I'm going to put him as okay, right? He's always going to be frustrating. You're always going to have those games where you've got a Bastion who's damage boosted by Mercy and he's just shredding through everything. It's going to happen. He's always going to be a bit of a cheese pick every now and again. But I think players are getting a lot better at dealing with him. And when we look at these two tanks at the top, they can absolutely deal with him. I mean, Sigma's got a load of tools to deal with this. Ramattra has as well. So you can eat up his damage. And I think he's just like he's okay. But he could be quite frustrating. Next is Brig. Okay, Brig is a funky one, right? So I think Brig is a little bit of a sleeper. I think Brig is a bit better than everyone kind of perceives her to be. But I think in this world of Kiriko and Anna, it's really difficult to go, oh, we've got a Brig and she brings enough to the table to sort of warrant having that Brig. But I don't want to be too harsh on Brig. I'm gonna say I think she's okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna say she's okay, Brig. I think she's all right. She's not gonna set the world on fire, but she's okay. Next is Doom, actually, and you know what? Doom is. I think Doom is strong. Doom is buggy as hell, but I think Doom is really strong. And Doom was quite okay against MAUGA. Like, if you were stupid and you just jumped in front of him and just let him destroy you, then yeah, he was terrible. But if you played, very aggressively into the back line, almost ignoring the MAUGA completely, it was quite effective against MAUGA, because Doomfist, so when you look at dive tanks and you look at a Winston and a Doomfist can eat the damage from MAUGA. So if you ever got caught out of position, you could basically block the damage and then get out when your cooldowns are refreshed. Winston couldn't do that. Winston was just committed. He just had to jump away, and if his jump was down, then Winston would just die. So he is definitely the best dive tank. But he's like so specialized. You need to know what you're doing with the hero. Like, I would never play Doomfist because I'm not good enough with Doomfist, and I would literally throw, because you need to be on with all your timings and everything. So I think he is really strong. Though you come up against a good Doom, you will know about it. He will be very effective. I think actually going on from that, the D.Va. So D.Va is a really interesting one, right? Because D.Va was quite good against MAUGA. You could eat his damage, and you could do quite a lot of damage to him, especially when he was being when he was reloading or whatever. If he wasn't basically doing damage to you at point blank range, you could do a lot of damage to him. But I think Doomfist is still the better dive tank. I think I don't know, actually. I kind of want to say she's strong, but I also think, no, you know what? I'm going to be safe here and just sort of say I think she's decent. I think she's decent. She's decent. Right, Echo. Okay, this is one I think is really strong. And I think Echo is, again, one of these heroes that is She is. You need to know what you're doing with Echo. She's very difficult to play, and one of the crazy things with Echo is she is. You can't play the hero. Well, no, she's the last hero you unlock when you start a free account. She takes the most games because Blizzard are like, oh, she's the most complicated hero because she can turn into every other hero and whatever. But basically, really good at destroying tanks. And the difference with her compared to Pharah is you can play the Echo quite reliably without a Pharah. Now, without a Mercy. Now, I'm not saying you 100% need a Mercy for Pharah, but it does make things a lot better, doesn't it? A hell of a lot better because you're not very mobile, really. You go up in the air and you just stick out like a sore thumb. You need that healing from the Mercy. But Echo, she's a lot better. She's got way better mobility. Obviously, great at ripping tanks down. Her ultimate, again, really strong, especially in times where there is a really strong hero that's always being played on the enemy team. Hello, MAUGA Meta. I know we're hopefully not in that anymore, but when we were, Echo, her ultimate was just a fight win. You just copied the MAUGA. You had 2 MAUGAs. You won that fight. It was just crazy OP. So I think she's really strong. And I still think she's one of the best heroes in the game, to be honest, in terms of her design and everything. I love that hero. Really strong. One of the heroes that is really struggling at the moment is it's got to be Genji, to be honest. He's better than Cassidy, so I can't put him down there. But he is like, I think, oh, I don't want to sit here and talk about Genji for hours, but I could do. I feel like Genji is just a relic of Overwatch 1. He was this ultra mobile, cool cyborg ninja, and his ultimate was great. And we've all seen those moments where Genji goes in and destroys an entire enemy team with Nanoblade. But in 2024, Genji gets Nanoblade and just doesn't really do too much because there's a lot of options to deal with him out on the field. He kind of is playing around his ultimate a lot. He just sort of exists, then he's got his ult, and then he's hoping to get kills with it if he can. But the enemy have probably got a lot of ways of dealing with his ultimate, and so it just becomes very difficult. I guess on the outside shout is if you're highly specialized in Genji, maybe you can make him work and be more effective. But I don't know. I just feel like the days of Genji are gone, and it's really sad because I really, really think Genji should be higher than this. Because when Genji's higher, it means dive and ultra mobile team comps are sort of becoming the thing, and that's arguably where Overwatch is at its best. I guess on the flip side, let's go and take a look at his brother. Now, I think he's really strong, actually, Hanzo. Hanzo is... So I think he's really strong against MAUGA, but we're not in the MAUGA world now, and this is kind of what we got to realize. We're sort of in this middle land where he could just be decent, but actually I still think he's okay against these tanks. I think he's pretty good against... I think honestly, he's frustrating when he kills you, but he's really, really good. And he's really easy to play to a pretty good standard Hanzo. If you're just playing angles and you're just spamming your logs down the angles where you know where the enemy's going to come from, you're probably going to get quite a bit of value. If you pop your storm arrows and try and burn down tanks, you're going to get a lot of value there because it's easy to hit the tanks. You know, Sonic Arrow's okay, his ultimate is like whatever, but I still think he's dangerous, Hanzo. And I don't mind it. If I see Hanzo on my team, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Provided there's a Sojourn with him. Okay, where are we going to go next? Iliari. All right, so let's bring the buffs back in for Iliari. So, where is she? These are, like, weird because they make sense and they also kind of don't. Am I blocking them out a little bit there? Yeah, maybe I am. There we go. Okay, so. She's got primary fire charge gain is no longer paused by secondary fire, nor channeling captive sun. Buff. Ammo increased from 14 to 16. Buff. Captive Sun now fully restores secondary fire resource and resets overheated status. Buff. Remove damage fall-off penalty from Sunstruck Explosion. Buff. But I mean, this is just buffing basically a primary fire damage there and buffing her ultimate. There's no healing buff here. And Iliari, when she doesn't have a healing pylon out, it's trash. Players kill the healing pylon really fast now. And some game modes just don't work with the healing pylon because your team is now in a different area of the map fighting, and it's like, uh-oh, now I've got to redeploy it, and it can be a problem. I mean, she's quite mobile for a support. She's really fun to play. If you land the shots with Iliari, it can really catch the enemy team off guard. But again, and the issue with all the supports, if you want to play a support that does damage, play Kiriko, because Kiriko's got so much more she brings to the table. Iliari just doesn't have that. And this is a really sad one for me because it's like she's just falling into like non-relevancy, and I think it's really kind of sad. I just don't think she's that good. I think she's going to be more playable now, but I just don't think she's going to be I don't think she's going to be. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference because you're still going to. Because basically, if you've got the Iliari on your team, you're going to suffer with the healing output, right? Because if you're used to playing with an Ana and a Kiriko, right, you're just going to be like, well, what's the Iliari doing? She's trying to duel the enemy team, but she's too far away to heal me, and I'm not near a healing pylon. I'm going to suffer. It's just another one of those things to look out for. And her ultimate, I have to say this, is just really not good. It's probably one of the worst support ultimates in the game. It feels great to use, and in the early days, it was a fight win, but now it's, I don't know. I want to play Iliari, and I think I'm going to play her just to see what happens, but I don't think she's going to be, she's definitely not a must pick by any stretch of the imagination. I'd be very surprised if that turns out to be the case. I think the other one actually we'll look at here is Lifeweaver, because I can see him coming up. So Lifeweaver has got, these are the buffs to Lifeweaver. So Thorn Volley, projectile speed increase from 70 to 80. This is big. It's actually a 10 meter per second increase. I mean, that is actually quite big. So the projectile is going to move a lot faster. And Petal Platform is no longer pierced by piercing projectiles. So things like Fire Strike can't go through it. But is this enough to make a massive change to the hero? I don't know. I feel that he's just... I think he's on the same tier as Brig. But I also kind of wanted to put him into decent there, into the B tier. But, I think I will actually. And the reason I'm going to do that for is just it's easy to do reliable healing output with him. When you're playing as a tank and you've got a Lifeweaver, you know there's going to be quite a lot of healing being thrown around, and it's going to be easy for that healing to be applied to you as a tank. Because it's not as hard as Ana's, where she obviously has to aim. Like he has to aim in the general direction. Let's be very generous there. But yeah, now he's been buffed. He's going to do more damage. That's going to help him out. His Petal Platform is literally giga buffed because he can go up in that now and he'll be safe from basically everything. And that's going to let him rain down loads of healing or even damage. His grip is it's okay when it's used correctly, which is not that often. And his ultimate actually, it is like a fight-winning ultimate. The tree, but the tree, like going through the MAUGA meta and like having a tree down, it was kind of funny. It was almost felt like it didn't do anything because MAUGA had that much healing anyway. But I think now it's going to be more effective because we're going to see less MAUGA. And yeah, it's just I think it is a pretty good support ultimate. It's a bit goofy, I think, the way it sort of deploys, but it is pretty strong. So I'm going to leave it at B. I think he's fine. I'm happy if I've got a Lifeweaver on my team. I'll take that. So next up we've got Junkrat, and Junkrat. I'm going to be honest. I don't see much Junkrat in the game. Maybe that's just me, though, because when I do see him, he's really effective. I want to put Junkrat at B. I think putting him in at really strong might be a bit too much, but he might be. You're like, I'm just going to say decent at the moment for Junkrat. Oh, I don't know, actually. Can we go higher? Because Junkrat puts so much pressure on the enemy team. And he's really annoying to play against, Junkrat. Now I'm gonna leave him at B. I'm just gonna leave him there. I can't keep. What I've got in my head is like Junkrat A tier and then Torb at B tier. But I don't want them both on the same tier because I think Junkrat's a bit more effective. I think his ultimate's way better. Right, let's just leave him there. Let's leave him there. Okay, Lucio. Where am I going to put Lucio? I'm just going to leave Lucio at decent. It is a bit of a cop out with Lucio, but I just think Lucio's fun to play if you can play him. And yeah, speed is great when you've got that on your team. Beat is still a really good ultimate. But it's just, we live in the world of Kiriko and Ana. And Lucio, you can't play 3 supports. So you can't have him. If you could, he would be the 3rd support in that world. 100%. But he's not. So he's just decent. I think I probably would put Lifeweaver above him, though. But still on the same tier. Still think they're decent. That's fine. We'll go for that. Here we go. Mercy. Now, I think Mercy's really strong. Now, this is a debate that could go on forever and ever and ever because it does sort of depend on the tier you're at. And the funny thing with Mercy is when you see an enemy Mercy, it's really frustrating because you can see her flying around. She's really hard to kill. She's rezzing the MAUGA, which she was doing, and it was super frustrating. And you just want to stop playing the game. But then when she's on your team and she's doing those things, you're loving it. Now, of course, if you've got a Farah and you've got Mercy, really good. If you've got Sojourn with a Mercy, really good. So you can sort of pop the Mercy in for maybe the Ana, maybe the Kiriko. She's the sort of the other support that I wouldn't mind. Like, so if I had an Ana and a Mercy, I'm okay. I had a Kiriko and a Mercy, I'm okay, right? I take that. Sojourn would really love having a Mercy with her as well. So I just think she's really good, Mercy. Really strong. It's just funny. It's just funny when you see the perception of Mercy keeps changing all the time in the community. Like, you've got people who are just like, oh, I hate this hero, people who love her, and then people who almost like don't want Mercies on their team, but then get really frustrated because the enemy Mercy's doing so much. It's really weird. I think she's really strong though, and I probably would put her as probably the third support, if I'm honest. Oh, I don't know. Or maybe I don't know. Maybe Bap's better. I don't know. Mercy's just one of those things though. When you've got a Mercy, I think you love it. We'll leave it at that. Really strong hero. When is Rez getting nerfed, please? Ah, Moira. Okay. Moira. Right, Moira. Ooh, I think Lucio's better than Moira, and that's literally going to be my entire ranking of the hero. Moira, very one-dimensional to play, but you can get a lot of value if you're going into the back line. I don't do that if you're on my team, by the way, but go for it. We've all seen the TikTok Moiras by now. We've all seen the flanking Moiras, all of that stuff. Yeah, she's just okay, but she is stronger when you've got more of a, you know, when it's more of like a brawl comp, not really poke. And when you look at this is more pokey. If we were running with this as a team, with either of these tanks, or maybe we swap this Mei out for like a Hanzo or kind of any other DPS really. But you've got the Sojourn, these two, and like a Ramatra or even the Sigma. It's kind of like pokey, that is. It's not really brawl, you know. But brawl does work with Moira because she kind of wants to be in there. So I don't know. If you've got a brawl comp, she could work. But again, like the thing is, guys, and I'm going to go full screen with this, it's got to be said with these tier lists, if you are highly specialized in one hero, just play that hero. I mean, you that's the fastest way to rank up in this game. It is we've played this game for years now. Originally, I hated that because I wanted everyone to be able to flex and all of this. It doesn't matter. Just be a one-trick pony and you'll win. That's the way of the game. That's how it works. That's the way of the game. It's been like that ever since it came out. So yeah, if you're highly specialized in Moira, then just, I don't know, keep playing Moira. But as you rank up, get ready for people to start saying, get off the Moira. We need a Kiriko because we're losing, because we don't have Suzu. You know, that'll start happening probably, let's say, high diamond going into Masters. It definitely happens. So yeah, you will get increased toxicity through being a one-trick if you were like one-tricking a Moira. Okay, Pharah. All right, Pharah. Yeah, I think Pharah's just okay. This could be controversial as well, because I know people suffer with Pharah, and they've always suffered with her if you've got hit scan that cannot shoot her. Pharah on her own is useless. If there's just a Pharah on her own, you're just going to win that. Like, she's not going to get healed. You're going to be able to pressure her really easy, and it's like when fights break out, she's crap. On her own, she's no good. Probably getting reworked at some point, I would hazard a guess at. If she's not, then that's something I'd be looking at, Blizzard. But if you put her with a Mercy, then she suddenly goes up the tier, and she probably becomes really strong. But it's with the Mercy, and that's the issue. And hilariously, I suppose, if hero bans come in, which we're expecting them to do, at least in a test form this year, then Mercy probably will get banned a hell of a lot, just because people have got strong feelings, which actually would be a really good ban. I'm going to now argue for why it would be great to ban Mercy. Because you are taking out Pharah, because you ban the Mercy, then Pharah is no longer playable. Or she's like much weaker. Interesting. But yeah, I just think she's okay. Reaper. Okay. I'm gonna say, what am I gonna say for Reaper? I'm going to be cheap and say Reaper, I think they've also spoke about looking at a mini rework for Reaper, looking at some of his abilities. So until that happens, I'm just going to say he's okay. I don't want to say he's not that good. He's okay. But there's just better options than Reaper. Like, just play Torb. Torb is better than Reaper. 100%. Or is he? See, this is the thing, right? When you start to, it's funny when you go through the tier list, because it's like the Reaper is really easy to get value when you're on top of your target and you're just firing away. Torb, it's a bit harder because you're using your secondary fire, but also you need your turret in a decent position. And when are you going to use your overdrive thing and whatever, right? Whereas Reaper, it's like a bit more one-dimensional. But what is Reaper supposed to be? Like, yeah, he's a tank buster, but what? And he flanks, but everyone can hear him. I don't know. It's just an odd one. I'm going to leave him at C. Again, though, if you're a Reaper specialist and you like flanking, you're going to get a lot of value as you're going through lower ranks. But when you start getting into, probably honestly, into like plat and above, you're just going to get countered really easy. People are going to know where you are. So, yeah, a difficult hero if you're one-tricking that hero. Now, here's a sad one. Reinhardt. My favorite tank hero. No, Sigma's my favorite tank hero. Sorry, Reinhardt. You're my second favorite. I'm afraid he's just not that good. He's just not that good. Honestly, he's just a relic of a time that's gone. I mean, he's... Like, we always say this about Reinhardt, and I think we need to say it again. Reinhardt, when he's got his barrier up, cannot do anything. He has got his barrier up. That is it. Sigma, when he's got his barrier deployed, can also do damage and suck and move and everything. Ramattra, when his barrier's deployed, can move and do damage and use his tank ability and throw his E. That's the problem. And it's just sad. And I wish he was stronger, but he's not. Roadhog. Okay, so Roadhog. I think Hog's better than okay. But he's been nerfed, hasn't he? So hang on, let's bring the nerf in. Here's the nerf. I was looking over at the nerf stuff. So the Hog nerf is this. Total amount of healing reduced from 500 to 450 on Take a Breathe. And the cooldown between usage is increased from 1 to 1.5 seconds. So on the face of it, not a massive nerf. But I think this is an attempt to go, uh-oh, if we get rid of MAUGA, Hog is going to be stronger, and we might see more Hog. And we're buffing Orisa, because why not? So maybe Hog's going to be played... Well, no, you really don't want to play Hog into Orisa because you'll get destroyed. I don't know, actually. I'm going to say I hope he's better than MAUGA. That's why I'm putting him in the B tier. I think he'll be okay. I still think his rework is odd. No, you know what? Nah, screw this. I'm putting him in that tier. I think his rework is like, it doesn't really change his play style, and Hog doesn't protect his team. He's just like a flanker. He literally hasn't changed through the rework. So he's just going to stay as a C. Right, Sombra. I'm a terrible Sombra player, but I think Sombra's strong. I really think Sombra is strong. When Sombra is played well, she is really strong. And I wouldn't mind, like, you know, a Sojourn and a Sombra. I don't care. As long as I've got a Sojourn on my team as DPS, I don't care. I'll take the Sombra. I think she is got a lot of utility, really. I also actually quite like her rework in terms of it now makes players who don't, who maybe not were enjoyed her old play style actually play the hero. So I think she's more approachable to someone like me who never really played Sombra. You can maybe play her now. She's really good actually for assassinating people with that virus combo when you hit them with the virus and then going with the primary fire. I think she's strong, man. She's really disruptive as well, and she's got that threat that no other hero has got, where you don't know where they are, and when they pop up and they hack you at that bad time, or you know they make your life hell, or they engage your backline or whatever. Really good hero, I think. Really strong right now. I don't think she's S tier, but I think she's really, 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 really strong. Okay, let's take a drink because my voice is getting destroyed. How long has this video been going on for? These tier lists always take absolutely ages. Okay. Let's go for Winston next. Let's keep it... No, let's do Torb. We'll do Torb. So I think Torb's better than Reaper, and I think Torb's decent. He's a little tank buster. His turret can be super annoying. He's actually quite tanky himself. His ultimate is like whatever, but his damage output is quite reliable. Torb's. It's like a hybrid Hanzo Reaper in a way. He's all right. He's decent Torb. I'm not worried if I've got Torb on my team. I do prefer it though if the Torb sort of does focus more on being anti-tank, you know, and going after the enemy tank player. I think that's probably a little bit of a better way to play him. You don't want to be playing on the flank or whatever, but yeah, he's all right, Torb. I think he's okay. He's not going to set the world on fire, but he's okay. He's going to be a solid, reliable, close-range damage output with the potential to do very long damage, long-range damage with his primary fire, sort of like a mini Hanzo. Well, he's kind of like Mei, I suppose, is a better correlation there. But I think he's okay. I won't be too worried. Next, I think we'll go for... Let's go for Widow, because Widow is the only map-specific hero, really. Maybe Winston is, because I do like playing Winston on Numbani, and I always will like playing Winston on Numbani. But Widow, I think even more so. So I'm going to say she's okay, unless you end up on like Circuit Royale attack or even defense. You're going to want a Widow because the Widow's got amazing sightlines. Or Junkertown, first point, amazing sightlines for the Widow. So in those scenarios, she becomes like S tier, literally. But when you're not on those maps, it can be very hard to get value with Widow. And so I think it becomes a problem. I think she's okay on other maps as well. Like Iconvold, second point, she can be okay. What other maps have we got that are all right for Widow? Like Havana, first point, can be okay for Widow as well. And there's a couple of other maps, but it's either she's okay for a map or she's okay for a point on a map, and then you need to change the Widow. And that depends on a power level, because like I think she's okay as a baseline DPS if you're just taking her all the time, but I still would there'd be times where that's a problem. But then she could just become incredibly really strong when she's on certain maps. So I think that's pretty much Widow. Winston. I almost want to put Winston in really strong. And the reasoning for that is I want him to be strong. Now, Winston is... do we have to say Winston? I'm going to say the problem with Winston is going to be this buffed Orisa, because we're going to see more Orisa, and Orisa makes Winston's life hell. Winston, yeah, he can try and ignore her and you know, go for the back line. Or on dive maps, Winston's obviously got vertical mobility, which Orisa doesn't have. But if you're diving into an Orisa and she's playing defensively, it's going to be a nightmare. I think Doomfist is the better dive tank, so I don't think we can put them on the same tier. I think Junker Queen is overall just better. She's good against Winston as well. I'm going to say he's decent, but I wish he was higher. Like, Winston's one of those where Winston, if he's higher... Yeah, I just think Winston, like, if he's higher, then it's almost better for the health of the game. He's like Genji in that respect, where when they're sort of higher in the ratings, the game's faster. It's basically what Overwatch, you could argue, is meant to be, not the hellish MAUGA landscape that we've had to live through. But I think at the moment, I think he's just decent. I think Doomfist is better, though. Just because he can deal with that burst damage and get out. And Winston's ultimate, yeah, it's good if you know what you're doing with it, but it's really hard to get a lot of value with the ultimate. And a lot of people just end up contesting points with it, which... you know, we'll go for Tracer next. And I'm going to say Tracer's really strong. I think Tracer is... obviously, she got buffed recently with the damage output. But Tracer, I think she is very frustrating to play against. And but she's like so... Okay, so here's the thing, right? If you put 10 hours into Tracer, which isn't a lot of time, but you also put 10 hours into Sojourn, you'll get more value out of the Sojourn, right? The Tracer is a lot harder to play. But you start getting to a point where when you put 1,000 hours into Tracer, you become like really, really good, because you have to know the windows of engagement. What abilities have been used? Can I pressure that hero now? Do I need to back off? Because you're on your own. Like, your mobility is your only defense, and you need to try and pick an engagement, then get the hell out of there, even get a health pack or get back to your supports for healing. And it can be really difficult. And her ultimate as well can be really strong if it's used correctly, but it's difficult to use. But she's really disruptive in the back line. I mean, Sombra and Tracer can actually be quite effective if they sort of work together, coordinate their attacks. But again, it is difficult because you could just have a Sojourn blasting away at the enemy team, or a Mei just running around in a fight doing whatever, and arguably there's more value there. So, maybe have I hid Tracer, but I've put Tracer there anyway. She's underneath me. Yeah, I think she's under my camera. I apologize. Okay, so we've only got 3 left here. We've got Symmetra, Zenyatta, and Zarya. And what are we going to do with these? Because I think... let's go with the one I think is the highest first. And I'm going to go for Zen. I think Zen's the highest one. I don't think he's really strong. I think he's decent. So Discord is really good. It's always going to be decent. It's got good damage output as well. Healing has always been sort of so-so with him. His ultimate is decent. But like, this is a world where Zen can just be annihilated by a Sojourn, right? You have to play really defensively. And this isn't just a Zen issue as well, by the way, guys. This is like an Overwatch 2 problem where people don't respect line of sight. You can't just stand out in the open in this game. There's one less tank to protect you if you come from Overwatch 1, but there's that much damage out on the field. If Sojourn's running around with a charged railgun, she could blow your brains out. If she's got a mercy boost as well with a charged railgun, you're really worried there. It's like, Mei spamming stuff across the map. Hanzo, the list just goes on and on and on and on. It is really like, it's worrying if you're a Zen player because you can just be annihilated. Then you look at Tracer being strong. She's always been good against Zen. Then you look at Sombra. Yeah, she's really good against Zen. Zen is... But Discord is strong. And I think that's what elevates him above Brig and a Moira, I think, in the support game. But yeah, I think he's just decent. Now, I think the next two, I could kind of be lame here and just put these in decent as well. I think Symmetra... I think Symmetra is she's going to be better than okay. And this is because there's going to be barriers on the field. Because in the MAUGA world, there was no barriers. There was just MAUGA. His gut was the barrier. Oh, I guess unless he used his ultimate, then there was a cage you could charge on. But now there's going to be Ramatra and Sig again in the game. And you're going to be able to charge up reliably on that. But again, it's always been the thing with Symmetra. Very strong on certain maps, you know. You take her on Li Jiang, she's really good, you know. She's generally good on control point maps anyway. Certain points of other maps, she can be really strong as well. But I think if it starts devolving down into more of like a brawl style meta, you're going to see maybe a bit more Symmetra because she does an incredible amount of damage when she's charged. But it's just that thing of getting charged in the first place. But I think she'll be okay. So yeah, she's decent. I think maybe she's better than Torb. I don't know. She's okay. And the last one is Zarya. Now, I think with Zarya, I mean, I think she's decent as well. Zarya is... So the only thing here is Zarya. I like playing Zarya against Orisa. And we're going to see more Orisa. So maybe we see a bit more Zarya coming into play. And she's kind of going up. I don't know. She's not really strong. She's not. She just isn't. And again, maybe you want to play the Junker Queen into the Orisa. Or even Orisa into Orisa. Oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah, I think she's going to be okay, Zarya. Okay, let me move myself out of the way. Okay, that's better. I've moved myself down into the bottom corner so we can see it. So yeah, I think this is the tier list for Season 8 mid-season. I think, obviously, the big winners and losers here. The loser is MAUGA. I think he's going to go down into just not being played, which is good. The big winners, though, are weird heroes. Like, why is Sojourn winning? Why is Orisa winning? But I do think Ramatra is the one on the outside here who has been strong throughout MAUGA meta. But MAUGA was so strong, he just made Ramatra look crap. But now we're going to see Ramatra get played. And I'm really looking forward to, like, getting to grips with the hero because he's such a cool design, such a cool hero, cool lore, cool, amazing voice acting. Sigma's also got the same as well, but I've played a lot of Sigma, so maybe it's time to start playing a bit of Ramatra. And I think I'm pretty confident with this. I think this looks okay. I don't think there's any ultra trash tier heroes that are just unplayable. I think they're all going to have their place. But I do think the Iliari buff is kind of just like here nor there, really. It's not really enough to make the hero viable. And I think that comes down to the fact she's built around having healing pylon. So if that healing turret isn't out, then it's a problem. And we've seen Blizzard nerf the shields on the turret, I think, to make it more susceptible to damage, easier to kill. Its healing output as well, I think they nerfed at one point. So obviously, there's a fine line there. You make it too strong, and she's just going to be really good. You make it too weak, and then why are you picking the hero? You know, there are other supports like Zen and like definitely your Kiriko who are doing more damage, and potentially even your Life Weaver that's more deadly now because he's getting a damage buff with this patch as well. But yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at that. I think that pretty much sums it up right now. These are always interesting to look back on to see if you actually get them right. But I think it's quite an easy sort of tier list to work on this one because I think there's some blatantly clear changes to the game. Does anybody know what the balance philosophy is of Overwatch, by the way? Because I don't know, like, what was the design meeting where it was decided that Sojourn needed a buff? It makes no sense. It's absolutely crazy. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening and watching the video. Let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree, or who do you think should be in S tier? Do you think any of these heroes should be removed, or should there be more heroes in S tier? And do you think anyone's trash? Just let me know. Do you agree? All right, guys, I'll catch you a lovely lot on the next video. See you soon.